welcome in everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast. And of course, I am here with Pags. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. The Hawks get a win, right? So at least we
Hey,
get a
didn't I mention that? Didn't I
yeah.
think that I said that I thought that they could upset them? That San Francisco is just not moving. Not kicking on all cylinders.
I mean, they're not a great team, but the game really changed when Bosa got hurt, and but still, hey, a win's a win. Keeps our playoff hopes alive, and it was our least penalized game. So that was kind of a nice change. They only had 4 penalties, which is something that I don't know if they've achieved in a couple of years. Like usually they're in the 8 to 12 range for penalties. So only having 4 was amazing. But they still lost time in possession, and they still gave up over 50% on third down. So, I mean, that's not a sustainable way to win games. But I'll enjoy a victory Monday.
Yeah, I mean it's that was a good victory, and the Vikings beat Sister Mary the Poor.
Yep.
So they got lucky and won that game because it looked like they weren't going to do so hot. So, but there was a couple of really good games yesterday to watch.
Yes.
I mean, did anybody watch the Pittsburgh Ravens game?
Yep.
No, that was a great game.
That was their statement win of the year.
Was it a statement win?
No. They won because Tucker decided to suck.
Well, yeah, that too, but now they have control of the AFC North. Like, that was the game they needed to basically take control of that division. They were 7-2 playing a soft
It's not
schedule.
A statement win. Like, it's a good win, but it's not a statement. It's not like they went in and beat the brakes off of them or something. Like,
for me,
they lucked into a win because Tucker's having the worst year of his entire career.
But for me, a statement win is you win a big game against a division rival. It doesn't matter how you get it. You get a division win against the rival. Now you essentially have a 3-game lead in that AFC North because of the tiebreaker.
That's not a statement. Like that is a needed win, a good win. A statement win is usually like you lay the lumber on somebody. Like you do some work. That's
you're saying like a statement win is like Detroit over Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't view statement wins like that all the time because Detroit beat a team they should have beaten by 30.
No. He's talking score wise, not the actual dynamic of the Jags being horrible.
Yeah. I don't like, for me, I don't look at scores and say that's a statement win. I look at the opponent you're playing, the magnitude of the game, and what it could mean for the rest of your season.
Robert, it was 6 field goals, not 5. Yeah. Get it right.
Realistically, that could be a statement win for Pittsburgh if they end up winning the division, because this is ultimately a 3-game lead that they now have with 6 games left.
I feel like that word doesn't mean what you think it means, but that's okay.
A statement win will be what the Eagles do to Pittsburgh in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. I mean, it seemed like Pittsburgh was moving the ball well on them and just couldn't get in the end zone.
Yep.
Tucker sucked.
Yep. Yeah, because if he hits those 2.
It's interesting how the best kickers in the league this year stink.
Yeah, because Koo's been missing a bunch too.
Yeah, Koo has been missing.
Kaimi Fairbairn's been missing the last couple of weeks.
Jake on the Eagles has been missing. So, I mean, it's
Boswell cleaning up though.
Yeah, Boswell cleaned up yesterday.
That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, there was another game that also was a really good game to watch. That I didn't watch a little bit of it, but there is no more undefeated teams.
That was an entertaining game.
Yeah.
And just for all you New York fans out there, both New York teams are now officially out of the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and of course, we might as well talk about the Giants. They finally bench DJ, and Tommy Cutlets is going to get the start. So they clearly are tanking for Cam Ward, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
How you gonna go get fired on your day off?
Exactly.
That was kind of funny to me that they made that. I'm like, did they even play yesterday? I don't think they played yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, they're obviously trying not to win, right? Because if they were trying to win, they would have, brought Drew Lock out because he can at least throw the ball around. He can win you a game. So bring in DeVito out makes me think that they're really just trying not to do anything. He did win a couple of games for them last year, so I'm not saying that he can't. I'm just saying the odds are low.
Well, I don't see where they're going to be winning any games, anyways. But
Well, I mean, not
you
with the
never know.
they have, but
I mean, they are playing the Buccaneers, and then after that, let's see who the Giants have in the remaining portion of their season. Let's see. So because they right now have the second pick in the draft.
yeah, because the Jags
Right.
decided not to show up at all. Yeah.
Right. So the schedule is as followed: the Buccaneers, that's a loss. The Cowboys, that's a toss-up. The Saints, and that's at home. That's another toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens, a loss. The Falcons, I'm going to go ahead and that's at Atlanta. That's a loss.
That's a loss. Yeah.
The Colts,
Definitely a loss.
definitely a loss. And then the Eagles, they may win that game because the Eagles would screw up their draft pick just because they wouldn't need to play for that game at all. I have a
I mean,
feeling
that would be kind of hilarious. Two teams trying not to win.
right, where the Eagles actually lose just to screw the Giants over again.
Exactly.
And then go on to win the Super Bowl, which would be amazing. But yeah, I kind of feel like that everything is going exactly the way I suspect that it will. Is Detroit peaking too early?
I don't think they are.
I mean, they just look like a really complete team.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're necessarily peaking. Like they're just playing good fundamental football. It's not like they're doing anything special. I mean, yesterday was special in the way that, Goff has a perfect passer rating with like 4 tugs or something. So, I mean, obviously coming off of a 5-pick game, that was huge, but I don't think they're doing anything special. Like they're just playing really good football.
And they're beating the teams they should beat, but they're not just beating them; they're absolutely stomping them. Like Minnesota played Jacksonville last week, a team that Minnesota should have beat. Minnesota beats Jacksonville 12-7. Detroit beats them 52-6. Minnesota played Tennessee yesterday, a team that Minnesota should beat them 23-13. Detroit beats them 41-9. So Detroit's not only beating the teams they should beat, but they are sending a message to these teams like, you have no business being on this field with us. Like, you are going to get your ass kicked from opening kickoff to the final whistle. Detroit doesn't care who they...
That sounds more like a statement to me.
No, it's not. It's not necessarily a statement because we've seen this with Detroit now, where this is the type
I'm literally just giving you shit, man.
I know, but like no, because I know people who are going to say the same thing. Like, this was a statement win for Detroit. It's like it's really not, because we have seen Detroit do this to pretty much every team they played this year. Like,
no, I mean, you're supposed to beat bad teams.
Yeah,
and you're supposed to beat them convincingly.
Exactly. Like, Minnesota's beating the teams they should beat, but they're not doing it in a convincing fashion where you're going to look at the Minnesota victory yesterday against Tennessee and, yeah, this team looks good. They won by 10, but they really didn't play great against Tennessee this week. They didn't play great against Jacksonville last week. Detroit's literally kicking the shit out of everybody they play right now.
Well, and you were talking about how Minnesota's barely winning against teams that Detroit is destroying. Both of those games, they knocked up a 52 spot on them.
Yeah. And like the thing with Minnesota right now, and it's the biggest issue that I have with Kevin O'Connell since he's taken over the Vikings. Like, yes, he was 13-4 his first year, and right now he's 8-2. But Kevin O'Connell has a tendency to play down to the competition. Like, when they're facing teams that are like 2-9, like the Titans and Jaguars, he has a tendency to kind of play down to the competition where they make a lot more mistakes than they would typically make, like when they're playing the Texans or the Packers or a good team. Minnesota didn't make that many mistakes against the Packers or the Texans early in the year, but now they're making a lot of mental mistakes because I think they're playing down to the competition versus Detroit. They don't play down to the competition. They just go out and play the way they play against everybody.
Yeah, they go out and they're like, keep up.
Well, it'll be interesting to kind of see how they play this week. The Colts are actually playing for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And they're playing well. Like they've looked like a decent team. Not great, but like a decent team.
I mean, I think that coach is a good coach.
Steichen.
Hence why that team is playing better than they look. But
and why they've made it past week 9 as a coach, which isn't something they do there very often.
Well, but I mean, now they are at home next week against Detroit.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if another 52 spot, because interestingly enough, it's either been a half a deck of cards or a full deck of cards against that division. They 52 versus the Titans, 52 versus the Jaguars, and 26 versus the Texans. So let's see if they can make another half a deck of cards, and then they'll just have 3 decks out of 4.
And the thing with the Lions, I wanted to look something up with the Lions, but they've only had one game outdoors so far through like the first 10 games of their season, and that game was obviously the Packers a couple of weeks ago when they won. But then this week they have the Colts indoors, then they get the Bears and Packers back-to-back weeks indoors, then they get the Bills December 15th indoors. The Lions only have 3 outdoor games this season, and 2 of those 3 come the December 22nd at Chicago and then December 30th at San Francisco. Otherwise, 14 of their 17 games this year are going to be indoors. Plus, if they get home field advantage in the playoffs, you're looking at a team that literally is going to be pretty much indoors the entire season. And that's kind of why I think like if they get home field in the NFC, I don't know if like Philadelphia I think has the best shot to beat Detroit just because of the way Philadelphia plays. But I just don't know if Detroit's going to be able – I don't know if Detroit will lose if they get home field just because they're going to be indoors so much this year. It's just going to be like a track meet for them at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that indoors matters as much for that particular team because they do practice outside, right?
No, they practice indoors.
Oh, they have an indoor facility for practice?
The only time they practice outdoors is leading up to an outdoor game. So
yeah, I was going to say, I thought they had an outdoor facility.
They have like an outdoor field. They have an indoor facility, but they have like an outdoor practice field. So like they practice outside Thursday and Friday heading.
Yeah, it's like 25 yards next to the
building,
indoor, next to the indoor facility. So
and then they'll practice outdoors again for when they go to Chicago and they go to San Francisco. Otherwise, they practice indoors all year.
See, this is why I love Rob. He's the delusional Hawks fan, but I'm with it. I'm with it. Let's go.
We haven't won a game in Seattle in forever, so that's not going to shock me.
Yeah, that's true.
Gaia.
Speaking of your Vikings, though, O'Connell might actually be one of the only coaches to survive 22 head coaching class, and 4 of them are already fired, which is crazy.
5 will be fired. 6 will be fired. 7 will be fired.
Probably 7, right? Like if they move on and they get a different quarterback, there's a good chance the Giants just clean the slate altogether.
Eberflus will be gone after the season's over.
For sure. And Doug Peterson could be gone later.
He could be gone during the bye week. They have a bye week this week, so I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's gone at some point during the bye week.
Well, it seems like if you're going to do it, it'd be today, right? So that you gave
Eberflus or who?
No, Eberflus will be gone at the end of the season just because the Bears will not fire somebody during the season. So Eberflus will make it through this season, but he'll be fired in the offseason.
You were the one saying they don't like to pay 2 coaches that'll come back next year.
They don't, but his 4th year of his contract is not guaranteed. It's a 4th year option, so they don't actually have to pick it up.
Oh,
so that's why I said he'll be gone at the end of this season. Peterson should be gone today, but he's still employed. So
yeah, that's weird, right? Like I thought that for sure was going to happen this morning. Peterson was going to be out. I thought their GM would probably be out as well, but. Yeah, I agree. Eberflus will probably stick it out the rest of the season for, whatever reason. But
And then
Dable's,
Dable.
Dable's the biggest question here
Yep.
is, if they're going to entertain him ruining another quarterback or, what it is they're trying to do. But
Well,
I mean,
here's the problem. If they keep the GM, they got to
Dable
keep the coach.
because the GM is from
Sure.
Buffalo. He's the one that literally took Dable from Buffalo to bring him to New
Right.
York.
So
Yeah.
those guys are tied at the hip.
Yep.
Now, if I was Mara, I'd gone. The whole debacle with Saquon Barkley shows me that you are not ready to be a GM.
yes.
When the owner said, he's by far and away our most popular player. And
Most valuable player.
And most valuable. And I will not be able to sleep if he goes to Philadelphia. I wonder if he's gotten any sleep since that moment.
Well, I mean, his press conference, for Peterson is if we get fired, it happens, right? Like it was kind of weird. Dable, I think, thinks he's going to stay. Like I
Well, you
think
got to think that you're staying.
Yeah.
I think he thinks he has some protection there. Where Peterson, I think, understands that he's probably done sometime this week. I really thought it was going to be one of those first thing this morning, Ian Rappaport brings it out. Peterson fired.
I'm wondering if they're giving him a little bit of a pass. I mean, he doesn't deserve a pass, but I'm wondering if they're giving him a pass right now because Mac Jones is starting. I wonder if that's really the only reason why they haven't gone out and fired him yet.
I mean, I don't know why, because you look at the track record of how they finished last season and how they've started this season, even before Mac Jones started. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know why you would give him a pass at this point. I mean, the two teams that seem like it should just be wholesale, throw everybody out the door, get new people is, the Jags and the Giants. I mean, they both seem like they should do that. And, the Bears, you have to think that Eberflus is gone. And based on that, they've already done the entire coaching staff. So
even though the offense did look a little bit better yesterday with the coordinator change.
Yeah, no, it did. It did. It looked a little better. But, I mean, did it look better because it was better play calling, or did it look better because nobody had film on the way they were going to call it?
I think it was both because they did something yesterday with Caleb Williams that Shane Waldron refused to do. They used a lot of the read option with Caleb Williams, which is what he did a lot when he was at USC. And he ended up throwing for 231 yards. He ended up running for 70 yards. Like, that is the Caleb Williams that the Bears need. He played out of the shotgun a lot at USC. Played out of the shotgun a lot yesterday. Did a lot of the read options at USC. Did a lot of the read options yesterday. Like, that's something that the Bears need to get more out of him. And Shane Waldron refused to do the read options. He played Williams under center. Refused to do read options. Refused to do all the things that Caleb Williams did very well at in college. And Thomas Brown did that yesterday. And he looked like a completely different quarterback yesterday under the Thomas Brown play calling as opposed to the Waldron calling.
Oh, no question. I mean, not that anybody was saying Waldron was like some awesome.
Well, I mean, I never expected him to be a great offensive coordinator, but when you know your quarterback strengths, when you draft him, you at least have to make an effort to utilize his strengths. And Shane Waldron refused to make any sort of an effort to utilize his strengths.
Well, I think that's what we watched with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah.
Like he wanted Drew Brees, and Wilson's just not that guy. You put Wilson back in what he did well in Seattle, and he's looked decent.
Exactly.
This statement really cracked me up here.
What's that?
Mac Jones said, "We need to stop focusing on scoring points."
I don't think that's a real thing.
It's hard to say that, but you have to focus on doing your job one play at a time.
I mean, I guess if he means don't throw it to the other team
when you're on the 4-yard line, yes.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I can get down with that because you have to complete one pass to complete your next pass. So, I mean, okay, I guess it still needs to like culminate in points though, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's how John Madden said people win. One team scores more points than the other.
Yeah. Maybe stop focusing on getting a touchdown on every play, but you're not going to win games if you don't score. So that was a great comment for Mac Jones to make.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be aiming for the end zone every play. Sure. Hopefully that's what he meant.
The Lions outgained the Jaguars by 475 yards. That is the third largest in league history.
That is nuts.
634 yards for the Lions yesterday.
645.
45. And then the game against the Titans, I think they had 530 or 540 against the Titans like 2 weeks before that. So those two games they've had almost 1,200 yards of offense.
So and then
a phone call from Rwanda, that seems like a good one.
You should put it on speakerphone.
Right. Anyway.
So the 46-point margin of defeat broke the previous team record of 44, also set in Detroit. But that was the first year they were in existence. That Detroit back in 1995 was actually a pretty good team, and they beat them. I think it was like
44 to nothing. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's like the thing that is just like so scary about the Lions right now. Like everyone thought the Lions would take a step back defensively once Aiden Hutchinson went down, but that team has actually played more consistently defensively without Aiden Hutchinson, which is actually shocking. They're getting more people to get after the quarterback as opposed to Hutchinson was the main guy. Now they're getting more guys to get after the quarterback. They're getting more consistent production. Offensively, they are literally putting up video game numbers. It's like, we'll just throw a 25-yard pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to toss it over my head to Jameson Williams, and he's going to run it another 20 yards. It's just like, why do that? You're already up 28-6.
Because you got to keep that perfect passer rating.
I find that this is like, I don't know. I almost believe that they're peaking a little too soon. I mean, you're clicking on all cylinders. That's great.
Yep.
You're going to get the bye week right now if everything holds true. Because
they don't know Detroit had their bye week already.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to get the bye for winning the number one seed.
Oh, yeah.
If everything holds true. And I don't know. I feel like that even their schedule moving forward is a little on the soft side. Let's see. They have the Colts, the Bears, the Packers, the Bills.
That's going to be a good game.
The Bills in Detroit will be a good game. That'll be flexed, in my opinion, to Sunday night, or if it's not already a Sunday night game.
Which one?
The Bills and Lions. I don't know if it's a Sunday night game, but if it's not, that'll be flexed into Sunday night.
No, it probably won't be because. Oh no! They've got the Lions have the back-to-back Thursday night games.
Yeah, Packers and Bears, they have the back-to-back Thursdays.
So that likely will not be flexed because they have the Sunday night game on. No, it's Monday night on the 30th against the 49ers.
Chad, you guys need to figure out how to get in the end zone because 6 field goals ain't going to cut it against a lot of teams.
Yeah, and there was a number of sacks there. Like, those are the things that I actually saw yesterday that I paid attention to a little bit. Like, there were a couple times they should have sacked him more, and they didn't. They just couldn't. The Ravens just couldn't wrap him up.
Yep.
And same thing with the Chargers not wrapping up Drew Burrows. Drew Burrows, not Drew. But Burrows, there was 4 or 5 plays where they had him, and he got out.
Yeah,
and made a play. Like it was just, and that Sunday night game. I mean, I tell you, that's all I saw was yellow. Flag,
Mhm.
flag, 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 flag.
There's a lot of yellow.
It was a lot of yellow. It was more than I wanted to see. but that's why they play the game. There wasn't many other games that were worthwhile talking about yesterday. I mean, like I said, the Bears would have won if they had a halfway decent kicker.
Yep.
You know,
Well, there's a lot of games that were going into the day weren't going to be good games. Like you saw it and you're like, this one's easy to pick, right? It's not like there was a ton of upsets. I mean, the biggest upset was the Hawks, right? Everybody else kind of fell in where you thought they'd fall in, and the good games were good games.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I thought the Broncos.
The way the Broncos beat the Falcons, I think, was an upset. That game was.
So I had the Broncos winning that because I like their defense, but I
had them winning it too.
I didn't have them winning the way they won.
No, that was the big deal. I was like, wow, they really smacked the shit out of them.
Yeah. So Pegs, week 15 was when the Bills play the Lions. Bills and Lions are scheduled to play at 3:25. Eagles and Steelers are scheduled to play at 3:25, and then the Packers and Seahawks are set for Sunday night. So there's a good chance that Packers Seahawks game could get flexed to 3:00, and then the Steelers and Eagles or the Bills and Lions get moved to 7.
I sure hope not. I don't want a Sunday night game against the Steelers. I want that to be still 4:00 game.
Or they can just take the Bears and Vikings off Monday night and flex the Bills and Lions into Monday night.
Nah, they won't do that because the next Monday night is the 49ers and Lions.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then also you got to pay attention to, because the Steelers, they're not going to change much of the Steelers schedule because they play on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And as funny as that sounds, they're not going to move it from day to night just because of that reason alone.
That's why I think the Seattle Green Bay game makes the most sense to get flexed out, because that game is in Seattle. It's a 3:00 game, which would be a normal start time for Seattle. And then you just put Detroit and Buffalo in that Sunday night slot because it would be the same network taking the game, obviously CBS, but.
No, I don't think it has anything to do. I don't want to go to an 8:00 night game.
Well,
I want to go to a 4:00 game. That's what I want. I'm being selfish. I would rather it be a 1:00 game so I have the rest of the day free. When I got to go to a 4:00 game, that means I am in paint from 7:00 in the morning till, typically around midnight.
Yeah.
That's a long day for me. You put on makeup like that. And see how you feel about it. You'll want a 1:00 game too.
No, I know. I'm saying from your point of view.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Rob.
From your point of view, though, like obviously you want the Eagles to stay at 3:00 from your point of view. But I'm saying the way the NFL is going to look at it, they're going to look at that Steelers-Eagles game if both teams are kind of in the position they're in, and then Lions and Bills if both teams are in the position they're in. Those will be the two games they decide, I think, to flex into Sunday.
Yeah, but I just don't see them. I really don't see them creating a time like if I was the Steelers, I would fight it because obviously they're flying back. So the flight's not that big of a deal. It's not like they're going to take a bus back home.
Right.
So they're going to fly back home, and it'll be a 45-minute flight. And by that time, you could be back home and in bed, or at least back home again by 10:00 at night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You do that, you're not back home till Monday. Switching it to an 8:00 game.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they have to, it's already a fast week because they got to play on Saturday, because they got to play on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you would be creating really 3 short weeks in a row. Or 2 short weeks in a row. 2 big short weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know. NFL could do a lot of different things.
Yeah, they really haven't been active in flexing games this year either. So, I mean, they've let some clunkers remain.
And I think a big reason for that is I think a lot of the networks that have these good games are fighting it, saying, no, we want this game on our network because we have this crew doing it.
Rob, I kind of agree with you there a little bit. I feel like that they have not been playing great teams.
I don't think they get smashed, though.
No.
Like, I think that's a good game.
Yeah, Houston was – I mean, look at Houston though. Houston intercepted the Lions 5 times. We're smashing them 23-7, and they still lost that game. Like,
Yeah, like I think that's going to be a good competitive game. Buffalo could win that game for sure.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo won, but just
But I don't see him getting smashed by Buffalo.
I don't see him getting smashed by anybody really. Like I mean, they might lose by
Except by the Eagles in the NFC Championship.
They might lose. They might lose by like 7 or 10 points, but I really don't see that team getting smashed by anybody at any point this year. Just because they really don't have one glaring weakness that you can point to and be like, "This is their weakness." That you can like, physically attack the entire game.
Yeah, but again, they haven't been playing teams that really can do anything against them. You know, they played Houston, which was a good game, and then Houston forgot how to play in the second half. You know what I mean? And really, he threw 5 interceptions. The truth of the matter is that I could really only count
3,
maybe 3, but really only 2.
Yeah,
the one was a tip ball thing that happened, and the other one was a Hail Mary pass that didn't count. You know, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I know it goes as an interception, but you know,
well,
it's
that was the one that like bounced around like crazy, right?
well, that's the tip ball thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
That one was
That
a wild interception.
I want to say that fourth one was similar. You know, I'm not exactly sure what happened there. I think he just misread, and the guy jumped it or whatever. But it was like that's a little weirdo one. I really only got 2 of them that I really saw in that game. But I mean, he threw 5.
Yeah.
So
stat sheet, right? So, still, I mean, prior to that week, he's playing out of his mind, and then he turns around, has an amazing day yesterday. So, I mean, everybody has a bad day.
So, including Lamar, who had a bad day yesterday. It made me wonder how close now is the MVP, and has Saquon Barkley done enough now to put himself in the number 3 spot of that race?
No, probably not. Right. Lamar's probably still leading it. Josh Allen is going to be in that conversation, and the bounce back for Goff gets him in the conversation again. And I only say that because they really like to give that to quarterbacks. So Derrick Henry and Saquon, although will be mentioned in it, I don't know if you're going to have a non-quarterback ever win it again.
I don't know about that, but
it would take quarterbacks getting hurt, right? Like it would have to be like one, you know, it would have to be like a couple of years ago where half the league got hurt.
Yeah.
Like that's how a running back wins again.
Well, you had Adrian Peterson run for over 2,000 yards, which I think is going to be what Saquon does.
Yeah, you might actually end up with 2.
As I said, 2,000 yards.
No, I mean,
Derrick Henry and Saquon both getting it.
2 backs.
They are taking it light on Henry right now. Henry is not going to get 2,000 yards because they are not giving him the ball because they want to rest him. Yeah. This is like a load management thing, a real load management thing, because they don't want, again, they only gave him the ball 13 times because they don't want him to get hit by real opponents. And that's what the Steelers are. They're a real opponent.
Yeah. You know, Rob, you're kind of not wrong here. The fact that Mahomes is still in this conversation is wild to me because his numbers don't warrant it. But he's
not in this conversation.
I would bet money that even with as bad as he plays, he gets at least 1 vote.
Yeah, the guy from Kansas City, I'm sure. Like they're friggin' homers. But I really believe that right now, as it stands right now, Lamar, even with as bad as he played yesterday, is still number 1.
No question.
I kind of have, you could say Jared Goff. I would say Josh Allen is number 2. is a solid number 2.
Yep.
I got Saquon as number 3 and Goff as number 4.
Yeah, for like true impact, I would agree with that, right? Like Saquon is absolutely going to be above that, but he doesn't play quarterback, and we all know what this award really is.
It's the
Well,
quarterback.
I'll tell you what. If so, the one name that you don't hear mentioned in this is Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
Mhm.
And realistically, if the Eagles happen to get the number 1 seed over Detroit, if Detroit falters a couple of games and the Eagles win out, do you think that we'd hear about Jalen Hurts being an MVP at all? No. I think
Probably
it would
not.
all be Saquon.
Yeah.
And so if by chance that actually occurs, Saquon, I think, definitely wins the MVP.
You guys getting kind of back to we probably could have asked it 10 15 minutes ago, but I'm stupid and forget things sometimes. But do you think after the loss last night that Zach Taylor's gone?
Dumbass, we asked that 15 minutes ago. No, we didn't.
Because you're starting to hear a lot of these Cincinnati Bengals just throwing Zach Taylor under the bus in their press conferences. Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson threw him, basically yelling at him on the sidelines last night, threw him under the bus after the game. Joe Burrow's done it a couple times now. Like, do you think Taylor will be gone after this year?
After this year, yes.
Yeah, I could see it after the year. I don't think it'd be during.
No,
the
it won't. It won't be during the season. But I mean, you start like just the comments that Jamar Chase has been making, Joe Burrow, like all these guys, and now they're not going to physically say like they don't have their coaches back, but when you just hear what they're saying in these press conferences and just how much they're throwing him under the bus at this point, it's going to be hard for Cincinnati.
Yeah, but is it the coach's fault or is it the defense's fault?
Yeah, like it's the GM, right?
Yeah.
You're just not getting defensive players.
Well, a lot of them right now, like Jamar Chase especially, is basically saying, "I'm always open. I'm not the coach calling the plays. Zach Taylor's the one calling the plays." Joe Burrow said the same thing. He's like, "You got to ask Zach Taylor why he called this play instead of this play." Like they're all kind of throwing Zach Taylor under the bus, basically saying, "You call the offensive plays. You are messing something up." Like I don't know what they can possibly be messing up when they're scoring almost 30 points a game, but
I mean that's the thing, right? It's like I don't know how mad you can be about your offense because you're putting up points. It's just you can't stop anything.
yeah.
Well, that's the problem, that they need to score on every possession. And the fact that they are not scoring on every possession, the offense, instead of blaming the defense, is blaming the coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening there. I don't know that I agree with that, because ultimately, I mean, it's not like Joe Burrows has got 0 interceptions for the season.
No, exactly. I mean, it feels a lot like Saleh, right? It's like, oh, our offense isn't performing. Let's fire our defensive head coach.
Yeah.
Where your defense was really good. It's actually sliding now, but I mean, it was tops in the league, right? Top 5 generally. And offense isn't clicking, fire the head coach. It's like, well, okay. I mean, but all you did was hurt your defense. I feel like that would be the case here is the offense is putting up, to your point, almost 30 points a game. That should win you a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and who are you going to put in on defense right now as a defensive coordinator? Like, let's face it. Even if they brought in Belichick to be a senior advisor to this team, which probably would be very helpful for them.
Agreed.
There was a few things that I saw last night with that defense that made me think, if they were a little bit more consistent, they'd be better. They're just not consistent. I think that they need help on that defensive front. And if that defense just makes one more stop a game, I mean, I you know what? Let me check before I talk out my ass. Because I know that the Eagles stomped them, and that was definitely not a one possession game. But I want to see their schedule and how many. All right, so they lost to the Chargers. They got a bye week this week, by the way. So they lost to the Chargers 1 possession. They lost to the Ravens 1 possession. They beat the Raiders. They lost to the Eagles. They got stomped. They beat the Giants. They lost to the Ravens again 1 possession, 41-38. They beat the Panthers. They lost to the Commanders 1 possession, 38-33. They lost to the Chiefs 1 possession, 26-25. They lost to the Patriots 16-10. That was because what's his name was stinking. So think about this: 1 possession more by the defense. 16-10 by the Patriots week 1. We'll take that off the list. That was a fallacy. You know what I mean? That's the fifth preseason game.
Yeah.
Chiefs 26-25. If I remember correctly, the Chiefs won that walking off the field, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Let me make sure of that so that I can say that right. Yeah, 51-yard field goal with 3 seconds left. So, yeah, that was another one of those games where, hey, all you had to do was stop them a little bit, and maybe he don't make a 54-yarder.
Yep.
The Commanders, let me see how that one ended. I think that also was they scored a touchdown with 43 seconds left and then missed the onside kick. So, but with 43 seconds left, and they let up a touchdown with 2 minutes and 15 seconds after they had the lead. Well, no, they didn't have the lead, but they made it close, and then they couldn't stop anybody, specifically McLaurin.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean the defense has been the concern before the season started, right? Like I put them in that same category of the Jags and the Dolphins, where they have to outrun you. Like that's just how their teams are built.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and Baltimore beats
That being
them
said,
in
the
overtime.
Dolphins defense actually has gotten a little bit better.
Yeah. Because they learned how to play defense when Tua was out because they couldn't score points. So they're like, well, if we can't score, we better stop people from scoring against us.
Yeah, I mean, they're still not great, but they're serviceable now.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was, a wet paper towel. Like everything fell through it.
Yep. Damn. So, yeah, twice. They went for 2 and missed it. That's right, against the Ravens a second time. Yeah, so, literally 5 games, 1 possession.
Mm-hmm.
Win half of them. And all of a sudden you're 6-5.
Well, even last night, too, their kicker missed 2 field goals in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, you lost by 7, so even if he makes both those kicks, you're down by 1. But
it changes the feel of the game.
It changes the feel of the game. So if he makes both those kicks and you're down by 1, now
he could have won the game had they made both those kicks. They had their last play of the game.
You only have to get the
44-yard line, so he could have gone for a 63-yard field goal,
or you just throw a quick 7-8 yard out to the sidelines to make that a 53-yard field goal and trot him up.
Yeah, but they didn't have any more time left. It was 3 seconds left at that point.
But even at that, though, if he makes both those kicks, you're down by 1. You're thinking differently on that last drive. Now you're not going for the end zone. Now it's like we just need to get here to get you a field goal.
Exactly.
So, and actually, it would have put the game. It almost maybe would have put the game out of reach. Because literally it was 27-27. Now it's like 27-30. They could never take the lead in the game.
Yep.
Once you take the lead in the game, it starts to make things a little bit more nerving. So, anyways, but yeah, so that was so really, Cincinnati is probably going to lose their coach just because, but they need a defensive coordinator. And I don't know that they lose their coach because of that. They kept Marv Lewis forever.
Because he was consistently consistent.
Consistently 8-8.
8-8, 9-7 every year. He might get you a 10-win season to win the division every 3 years, but he was consistently 8-8 to 9-7 every year. They were consistently right around that number 6 seed every year, but because they were bad for 20 straight years before he got there, they're like, you're consistently putting us right around that playoff spot, so we will hang on to you as long as we can hang on to you.
That was Jason Garrett.
Yep.
Right? It was 8-8, clapping it up.
So, let's say now they got the Steelers for the first one at home.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got
yeah.
that's the tough one. That might be the last loss of the season.
That's Thursday, right?
Sunday, 1:00.
Sunday. Who's on Thursday? Oh, okay.
All right, no. Actually, so this is their bye week.
Yeah.
Then they have the Steelers.
Okay, because I thought the Steelers were on Thursday night this week.
They are.
Yeah.
Steelers, then the Cowboys, then the Titans,
Hmm.
and then the Browns, then the Broncos. So the Broncos is going to be a tough game. That's going to be hard to say that's going to be because they almost have to win out now to be 10-7. 9-8 might make it
Mm-hmm.
because the
I don't know.
have-nots.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if 9-8 makes it though.
I don't know.
Just
Yeah.
because you have to look at obviously Buffalo's going, they're going to win their division. You have to think that
Yep.
Pittsburgh and Baltimore are both going, so that's
Oh,
three. That's 3 teams, and then obviously Houston's probably winning their division. That's 4 teams. You have to think Kansas City and the Chargers are both going to go.
Probably.
And then that's what leaves you open
And you
for
have
the Denver or Miami or Cincinnati.
or even the Colts,
Those are the 3.
or even the Colts, because the Colts
Even
are
the
sitting
Colts.
there at 5 and 6 right now. They're not out of it by any means for that final spot.
Correct. So those are the 4 teams that are in the bubbles, as so do we speak. Changing it up here a little bit. Who canceled Netflix?
Not me.
So I didn't. It actually worked perfectly at my house, but I do know some people that canceled.
I can't. My wife watches too much shows on Netflix. She'd kill me if I canceled it.
So I watched it, and anytime that it started to buffer, you had to just switch it out. You had to switch back off and switch back on again. It took 6 seconds to do that, and it came right back on, and it was fine. There was one time where I was like, oh, and it came right back on fine.
Tell you what though, that the women's fight made that whole pay-per-view though.
Yes, it did.
That women's fight was ridiculous.
Well, same with the one that was, I think it was the second fight of the night where it ended up being a draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a great fight. I mean, it was a bummer it ended up being a draw, but it was a great fight. And yeah, the women was the other one. But the biggest fight of the night was most people and Netflix servers. Like that was the biggest fight of the night.
Yeah. And let me tell you, they didn't miss much.
They really didn't. Yeah.
They that was a snooze fest.
Yep.
Yeah, all of that talk, all of that, it looked very scripted.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that because I think it was scripted.
No, I mean, of course it looked like you can't have the hand speed that Tyson had in all of his training videos, and he has 18 landed punches for the night. Like he had more bites of his gloves than he did swings. Like I feel like that's not a real thing. I mean, and it looked like he was walking in quicksand. Like he couldn't get his legs to move at all. And maybe that is that he's 58, right? Like that. Maybe that's just the 60-year-old man coming out. But the fact that he didn't throw the gloves was crazy.
Yeah, it made me wonder if 4 ounces really makes a difference. That they were using 14-ounce gloves instead of 10-ounce gloves.
I think Tyson just expected Paul to not get knocked over.
Well, it's a minute less per round too. So I mean, even if it was harder to throw the gloves, you're not throwing them for as long because the rounds were shorter. I mean, I don't know, but the fact that he wasn't swinging at all. I mean, he tagged him a couple of times pretty good in that first round.
Well, that's what I think the thing was. Like the first 2 rounds, like Mike Tyson dominated those first 2 rounds. Like he landed probably 5 or 6 good shots to Paul's face area. I think he kind of expected Paul to kind of just like fall over, and the fact that Paul didn't fall over, Tyson's like, oh shit, I guess I got him. Maybe tone it down a little bit before I burn myself out.
And yeah, you're not wrong, Rob. I don't know why he was there in his thong, but the fight was every bit as much cheeks as Tyson was shown on Netflix. So, yep.
Yeah, the fact that it was his son doing that interview and not somebody else was also a little weird.
It was. What's up, Bobby?
Why are you showing your cheeks to your son?
Right? Well, it was funny because they're like, "Oh yeah, he's almost ready to go," and then they come into that, and you're like, "I feel like you're not ready to go yet." Like,
And then the other thing that I had to talk about is, hey, the John Jones dance was definitely on point. I thought that was definitely Trump up there doing his dance.
John Bones Jones. Hey, that's the next fight that I'm waiting for in a couple months, and I hope Netflix does not say they want it.
What's that?
Anderson Silva's coming out of retirement to fight John Bones Jones because that was the
Yeah.
one fight. That was the one fight that everybody wanted back when Silva was in his prime and John Bones was in his prime. Like neither one of them was in the right weight class, but you had Silva who was 14-0 with a knockout every single time. John Bones Jones was 12-0 with a knockout every single time. So like have these two fight each other for like an undisputed title, and it never happened. But now Silva wants it.
yeah, I mean, it's just guys trying to get some money. But I'm not mad at it. It's just, once the guys are out of their primes, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Like that was Mayweather and Pacquiao, right? When that fight finally happened, it didn't matter anymore. Like it was one where when they were both in their primes, you're like, okay, like I kind of want to see this, but it waited so long to finally happen that Pac was done, right? He was just out there collecting his $20 million for showing up.
That's what all is happening right now. It's
Exactly.
like listen, I could have gone out there and had a better fight at 52 years old than Mike Tyson did with Jake Paul.
Probably.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean,
No doubt.
they weren't boxing. Like you had some action in that first round, and the first.
And I'll be honest, I feel like Jake was holding back. He
Oh,
didn't
he
want to
was.
hit him either.
Oh, Jake could have finished him off, especially in like round 6. Like he was just standing there, kind of doing this. You're like, come on, man! Like, and the final minute of the last round, did they even swing once?
Well, that's why you have to wonder if it was scripted out, where they basically said this fight has to go the entire distance or something. Because, like you said, I don't think either one of them took more than one swing at each other the last round. I think it was just like, oh, we're here in the last round. We just got to stand here for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the last minute of that last round.
Make it look like I'll throw one punch. I'll throw one punch your way. You throw one punch my way. If we don't land it, then we just got to stand here for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was.
I would have loved it when he finally, like with 10 seconds left, he went to do that bow and Tyson
I mean, that would have been hilarious.
Can we switch over to the NBA for like 2 minutes quick before we end?
I mean, sure. What do you got?
How long does Cleveland keep it going?
What are they at now?
4th team in NBA history to start 15-0. The only team that's had a longer start is the Golden State Warriors 24-0 start. So if they win tomorrow, they get 16-0, which would be just the 2nd team in NBA history to start 16-0. Like this team is a lot better than I expected them to be. Like they may be peaking too early, which I think they are, but even at then, this team is a lot better than I think a lot of people thought they were going to be.
Oh, well, they play the Celtics now. And
if they beat the Celtics, that's what I'm saying. How long do they keep it going?
Yeah, I think they lose to the Celtics. If they beat the Celtics, so that would be 16, 17 against the Wizards. The Nuggets, are the Nuggets even a team anymore? Not really.
They still are. They still have Jokic. I mean,
yeah, so that would be 18. The Hornets again, 19. The Heat again, 20. The Bucks, 21. The Sixers at 22. I think that they're going to have, like, truth of the matter is that the away games back to back, 7 and 8, at the Heat, at Miami, is where that'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, though. I think it ends against the Celtics right now. Like, I think that's – I think it's –
Well, no. I mean, yeah, so they got the Celtics tonight, and then they have the Celtics again on the 1st of December.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They have – and the back-to-back against the Hawks. So, it's 16 against the Celtics in Boston right now, or Boston gets revenge on the 1st, and that's 21.
I think they get the Celtics tomorrow, and then that would put them at 16. Then the Pelicans 17, Raptors 18. I think they get both against the Hawks to get the 20. I think Boston would get them that second time to end it at 20. I think they'll get to 20.
Oh, here we go. He has them beating them by 12. All right.
I'm not going to go that far, but I do think the Cavaliers will get Boston tomorrow, and I think they'll run this up to 20-0. But once they get to that second meeting against Boston, I think Boston will get them the second time.
Hey, listen, I hope they go 82-0. Go 82-0 and lose in the first round of the playoffs.
That won't happen.
Swept in the first round.
Yeah, when the pendulum swings, when it comes back, there's a few losses. So
there's no doubt. Well, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. If you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Other than that, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody.
Let's go.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National